right, we're live on Instagram. All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Live Wilderness Fitness Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Rob Minturn. I am the owner of Wilderness Physical Therapy. I want to talk about weightlifting belts tonight, so we're just going to dive right on in. The purpose of weightlifting belts, when you're using them in the performance side of things, we don't typically use them in the clinic, but we will use them on the performance side of things. The purpose of them is to create the intra-abdominal pressure. So when you are breathing into the belt, that pressure that's created within the abdominal cavity, within the chest cavity, is what actually makes you stronger, because you're increasing that pressure, reducing the chance that your spine, the instability within your spine, is going to be the limiting factor in your lift and missing the lift. So with the fit of the belt needs to be firm enough to make you not want to walk around with it between sets. You should want to take it off right away, but it should be loose enough to where you are able to belly breathe. And if you have any questions on belly breathing, check out the podcast 2 episodes ago, the Buddha belly or bust, and that'll go into diaphragmatic breathing and how to do that, because you'll need to be able to do that in order to use the belt properly. With the belt, it does boost your ability to lift heavier weights. It boosts that capacity to move heavier weight with your squats, with your deadlifts. I am not a belt expert. I'm not a powerlifting expert. So I don't think folks should be using belts to get ready for a hunt with a bench press, but definitely it is appropriate to use with deadlifts and squats. Now, if someone does not want to use it at all for their hunt prep, that's totally okay. You don't have to. But if someone does want to use it, it is something that it is another tool in the toolbox to make you a little bit more powerful with those two movements. There hasn't been any research, to my knowledge, that has shown that using weightlifting belts has reduced the abdominal wall strength. Now, there's a little caveat to that, though. With weightlifting belts, when you're programming them, when you're writing your own program and you're getting them incorporated into your program, you need to be able to lift heavier weights without using the belt. So you should program in times where you are using the belt, and then you should program times where you're not using the belt, but also lifting heavy weights. By heavy weights, I also mean sets of 5 reps or less. So if you're training for power or strength, that is an appropriate time to use a weightlifting belt. If you're doing muscular endurance sets, or you're doing muscular hypertrophy sets, that's not exactly the time to be using a belt, because again, you're not using it for its intended purpose. As far as the don'ts for the weightlifting belt, relying on them for all your lifts and all your heavy lifting, that is something that you really don't want to do. If you're having issues with low back pain, it's not something that you should slap on your back for low back pain. It is something, because again, the belt itself is not creating the stability. It's the pressure that with you pushing into the belt with your belly when you diaphragmatically breathe before you lift, that is what creates that pressure. That is what creates the stability. So if you're thinking that the belt takes away your low back issues, there's an underlying issue going on, and you need to get that addressed before you start to lift a lot of heavy weight with that belt on. So programming it in, like I said earlier, with the belt use and without the belt use is super important to get your back strong, to get your spine strong, to create a strong abdominal wall with your heavier sets. We'll dive into the women's health space here a little bit too with the pelvic floor, because there is definitely a use of the weightlifting belt with the pelvic floor. In lifting, there are 2 different types of breathing techniques that you can do while you're lifting. One's called free breathing, and that's going to create the least amount of stress on the pelvic floor. The second one is called Valsalva, so that's when you're holding your breath. And then third, as far as increasing the pressure on the pelvic floor, third is when you use the belt. So if you're free breathing and you're not leaking with your deadlifts, with your squats, with any of your movements, with your double unders, anything like that, then you're okay to go to the Valsalva as far as progressing with the abdominal or with the pelvic floor progression. With the Valsalva, again, you're going to be holding your breath. It's not bad to do. It will create more pressure within the thoracic and abdominal cavity, so it's going to allow you to lift a little bit more. And in that women's health space with the pelvic floor, if that is your limit as far as your leaking, like say you're doing double unders and you're able to get 15 double unders before you start leaking, you're not valsalvating the whole time, but you did hold your breath, you weren't freely breathing, that would be your limit. You're not exactly ready to increase the amount of pressure placed on the pelvic floor. That's another example with deadlifts. If you're doing a set, like 4 sets of 3 with deadlifts, and you're doing the Valsalva with the deadlift and you're leaking, you're not quite ready for the belt yet. Now, someone who's not necessarily trying to max out on a hang clean or a deadlift or a squat, but is having pelvic floor issues, there is still benefit to using a belt, because again, that's going to increase the amount of pressure on the pelvic floor, so it's going to make it adapt. Therefore, that pelvic floor is going to get stronger, and you'll be able to control your leaking with other things, with activities at home and with other activities that you're doing in the gym. So there's benefit with the progression of free breathing, Valsalva, and belt use within the women's health space as well. I didn't have a whole lot to talk about lifting belts, but I have seen folks using them, and using them what it seems like in the wrong capacity, as far as using it to mask up back pain. So I wanted to cover belt use and what they are truly intended to do, and go from there. So a little house cleaning. The monthly newsletter just went out. I got it out a little late. Had a crazy week of work last week. Next month's newsletter will go out the 15th, and I just finished up with the running course, so there's going to be some running tips on that. Spicy Saturday is tomorrow, so that's a free workout that I'll post tomorrow morning. The Wilderness Fitness Program the group cohort starts April 1st. There's still a few spots available there. Sessions are at 7 o'clock at night Mountain Time, and they will be recorded for those who cannot make the session. There is still 1 spot left for one-on-one coaching here this spring and summer. And then the Spike Camp membership, I'm super pumped about that. It's $24 a year. There's no strings attached or anything. That's it. There's no upselling once you're in the program. You get a workout. You get live Q&A sessions every quarter, and then you get all the recorded seminars that we do here at Wilderness PT. So if you can't make the seminars live, you can get access to those through that Spike Camp membership. But anyway, hope you guys have a great weekend. Get outside, enjoy the weather before it snows.